Hello, everyone. So, welcome to the Mind Body Reset. I'm Kara Lovehart. I will be your guide, and I'm so excited you are here. This is the foundational reason why not only I'm alive, I'm doing my work, I'm continue to transform, but why I continue to support others because they see so much transformation in their own lives from understanding what we're going to talk about today. Your energy system, your nervous system, the holistic modalities that might support you along the way, and finding ways through self-awareness to bring on your soul, your mind, your body into this cohesive, integrative balance. So if you are watching the recording, I encourage you to still connect with us in our community here. Chat with us, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, how did you hear about us? And let us know if you've tried any different type of mind-body work before. So what that could look like is it's anything maybe holistic, things that are connecting not just the physical, but the mental, emotional. So chiropractic care can be very physical, but you may have a chiropractor that is very mind-body based that talks about the connection between the mental and the emotional. You may have tried things like aromatherapy that are supporting the emotional state that can calm the body. Massage therapy, Reiki, seeing an intuitive professional like myself. Any of those, just want to know because we're kind of curious, like what modalities and things you have tried. And you're perfectly in the right place if you have not tried anything. So don't feel that you're left out of the new holistic culture if you're hearing and seeing chats of people who've tried so many things, because you just have to start somewhere. And I guarantee you, after 20 years on this journey, there's always new things to learn. And it's always beautiful, exciting, and it's a journey of expansion and growth, no matter where you're starting at or where you're picking the pieces back up if you've fallen off the wagon. The other thing I would like to know is, what would you like to bring more of into your life? You're welcome to share in the chat if we're here live, or you can, of course, share in the chat for the recording. But what is it that you're looking to bring more of? One of the things that we focus on a lot of times, and this is more of how the neuroscience works, our mental focus can be hyper fixated on what's going wrong, the things that are really challenging in our lives, and the things that are keeping us stuck. Now, in this program and many of my teachings, I want to make sure that we're not avoiding, not in denial, and we're actually looking at things that are maybe potentially there for us. But when we look at what are we trying to change in our lives and shift, I want us to bring more of a focus of what we want to bring in. What is it we'd like to see? The outcomes, instead of fixating on everything that we want to get rid of. Now, we, of course, will do that. We will pinpoint on that, but we're going to talk more about in our goal setting session today with our handouts. We're going to set the goals with the intention for there to be an outcome of what we're looking for, not what we're looking to get rid of. That makes sense. And the other question I'd like to ask is, what do you think most people in this world right now are in need of help in shifting? What do you see in the world? Because this program is going to give you tools for self-awareness, but as you progress on this journey, you'll begin to understand and to see that everyone around us, people in our immediate family, people we meet on the street, strangers, and people we see in the media, people we see in the collective, that we all are on some level capacity, we all are on some level a reflection of each other. And so when we are looking at things that we need to see shift in the world, it can give us insights on what maybe we are holding on to or what might be blocking us. And we'll talk more about that, because in this program, when we go deeper, the 7-day refresh is this kickstart, right? This reset. We talk more about what our triggers are, the things that set us off our nervous systems, because we're going to talk about nervous system regulation today and how that affects our energy field. And it's not common for people to recognize that if there are things that you are seeing in the world that need shifting, like they need to do this, it's this us versus them thing, they over there, or my family, or this person, they need to shift this. This is what their problem is. And it's important because a lot of times we have this beautiful mirror, this law of reflection, I say, that other people can show us not only things that either we could be having going on within ourselves, maybe characteristics or actions or behaviors, things that we used to do, that we are annoyed with them because we used to do that, and we need to have some forgiveness, some compassion, letting go. Or there are things that we're seeing in the world that we actually have no control over. And that is an opportunity for us to learn where is our power? Where can we actually make an influence? And where do we surrender? Because those things foundationally, the tool of the law of reflection, of being aware of what is around us, what do people need, and then we apply that. If it's applicable to us, then what do we need? Because we aren't going to shift the world by trying to shift everybody else and help everybody else. We have to get ourselves centered and aligned first. And that's the magic. That is the secret to actually creating big ripple change in this world. And it's starting with yourself first. So we're going to talk more about that today. In any of the programs, just for a disclaimer for legal purposes, I'm not here to diagnose. Yes, I am a medical intuitive, and I share a little bit more about that here in the next slide. I am not here to treat any medical conditions, give any financial advice, relationship or legal advice. My role is to give clear perspectives or different perspectives for how you can look at your life and yourself and have more self-awareness so that you can understand your nervous system, your body, your psychology, and how that connects to everything in your life so that you can utilize self-awareness for self-empowerment and, of course, referrals and resources along the way when you do need extra support that's beyond my scope of practice or any of the scope of practice of the practitioners that I work with in my network. Who is this program not for? If you are someone that's struggling with heavy drug or alcohol or any pharmaceuticals that are really causing a lot of issues, we want to make sure that you talk with your doctor before you do any of the changes that we have options for. Now, talk about them. The key word is options for. We do have options for some recipes and some different foods you can try. But again, there are some medical things and conditions and pharmaceutical medications you could be on that certain foods, like grapefruit, for example, it might be on your side of your prescription bottle. You should not take this. So even though the things we're providing as resources and education are natural, non-toxic, really healthy whole food things, it's one of those things you got to check with your doctor to make sure that that's right for you. If you have pre-existing conditions like pregnancy or nursing, please also to talk with your doctor. There is one example is peppermint essential oil is an amazing oil for headaches and migraines. We talk about that in any holistic world, right? But it actually can affect your nursing capacity. So it can deplete your milk if you are a lactating mother. So there's a lot of things I say up front because people assume a lot of times that supplements and natural things are perfectly fine for whatever they're doing. But please make sure that you do check with your doctors and healthcare providers. All right, so years and years ago, I was really not getting any help or support from the mainstream medical associations and the services they were providing. And it really was taking me to a dead end. I was getting the support that they could offer me, and that was about it. And this program was created out of the frustration for that, but also the passion for seeing other people experiencing the same thing. And in this program, we're going to turn wellness and its associated diets and detoxes and things like that on its head. There is absolutely in the balanced format of really coming from a balanced energy perspective. When you're in balance, there is not necessarily a need to restrict calories unless you have some sort of a specific protocol that you're working with your doctor that you need to do. That is not a lifestyle, though. That is just a diet. That is something that's temporary. And a lot of times we do that for certain reasons. We're going to be in a wedding or we want to lose weight for, something. But it's really, I want to talk about how we can create long-term lifestyle shifts. I used to be 260 pounds. So I've lost over 100 pounds and I didn't do any restricting of calories. I didn't do anything that was extreme. I should say I did do extreme things and went through a lot of the tried and true, this is the way you lose this much weight and you do these things. And I realized they were so extreme and they're not healthy for my energy. They're not healthy for the cortisol levels, for my nervous system. And they were all coming from this place of, I'm not enough. Something's wrong with me. I need to do it better. Now, not to say there aren't protocols out there that are very specific for different body types, metabolism, different hormone imbalances that might be going on if you're a woman specifically going through menopause or going different changes. Weight gain and weight loss can be associated with those things, but those are also a holistic way of looking at it. Instead of, hey, let's just give you this and it's going to fix you, we're looking for, how about your blood panels? What's going on with your lifestyle? How about your stress levels? Let's look at your energy system. What's in balance? What might be a characteristic or a psycho-spiritual mind-body connection here that keeps sabotaging this particular outcome of what you're trying to get to? So we're going to turn wellness on its head from what maybe you have known it to be. There is also a foundation here that we're not talking about powerlessness. No more powerlessness medicine is what I call powerless medicine, I say. This is where you're going to a practitioner and they have all the answers. Now, we have professionals in our lives that have all the answers as far as the medical research and things that we just don't have time to study and it's not our expertise. But we have this dynamic we've created with people in our lives, practitioners, our government, people who are in positions of leadership and power. We've had this long-standing history in our culture that those people are the ones that have the answer. They're going to fix it for me. And we give away our power in a way, instead of a dynamic that I'm seeing, thank God, more of us in our culture moving into, where it's, hey, I know a lot about my body and myself because you don't live in my body and you don't know what my day-to-day is like. And I got a lot of information to share with you. Can you help me? These are the details. And when we come from a perspective of empowerment, of knowing ourselves, whoever we work with, whether it's a coach or a medical provider or a therapist or a personal trainer, whoever it is, if you are coming to them with a partnership mentality, that is empowerment medicine. That is where we are doing the work and being aware of ourselves so that we can bring up the innate wisdom we have. And then, of course, the universe or the world around us will reflect us with helpers, supporters, and nurturers along the way. Little breadcrumbs to say, they have a piece of the puzzle I don't have. Here they come. Here's that doctor, here's that coach, whoever it is. But we are the creators of our reality. That is my belief. And when I see people shift their energy field, their aura, we'll talk about that, their whole reality shifts. And because the energy field is a reflection of your consciousness and where you are, where your fears are, where your physical body is, it's a whole system, an organic system of information. And it really, really does show up and give me a lot of insight on where people are, but also where people are stuck and how they can get to where they need to be. But the biggest thing that stops people is being in this mentality of someone else is going to do it for me. I am here not to fix people. I make that very clear up front. For those of people, this is so people who are watching this, if you are really deep diving into holistic stuff, I am a 2-5 line for human design. What that means is I'm here to get you motivated, get you up and ready and going. But what happens is I had to make sure my expectations of what I'm here to do are very clear. A lot of people have projected onto me in the past because I'm going to save them. And I know I got a big energy. That's just who I am. But I'm here to inspire you, get your energy moving for you to do the work. So I always say that because we are coming from a huge shift in our culture where, because of what's happening in our world and maybe what's happening in our nervous system, where we're like, I don't feel like I have control over this stress. Like, we can feel in this space of victim consciousness, and there's no judging being in victim consciousness. It's not better or worse, okay? It's just a choice. I come from a place of neutrality, non-judgment, of like, wherever you're choosing, there it is. But I want people to understand when they come working with me or working with this program, I'm here to get you out of that, especially if that's been a pattern, because it was a pattern for myself for many, many years. I still have days where I feel that way. It's not perfection, it's progression. But I want people to know that very clearly up front. I'm not here to save anybody. You are here to save your space and you. We are here to hold space for you and not hands. And I love that mentality because it's helping you to find the power within yourself. We're going to turn our wrongs into our rights. Just as I mentioned here, there is nothing wrong with any of us. We're exactly where we need to be. And when we've come to the other side of this perspective of ourselves, we can eventually look back and see every single thing in our life has happened for a potential reason. And when we've had resolution with it, we've been able to find that peace, that compassion, that healing, that forgiveness, whatever it is, we can usually see it that way. When we can't, it's because we still have energy blocks, things that are in there that need resolved, and finding this back to this present space where we are. And so just continue to think about that wrong into right. We are told so much that we're wrong, that what we look like, what we do for our work, or we're not a good mother, or we're not enough in this area or that area. So this program is about helping you uncover the truth that you are absolutely exactly who you need to be, in this moment, in this time. And that is only going to be found not by me telling you, because you have heard that a million times somewhere on a podcast or in a book somewhere. It doesn't matter how many people tell you, you have to realize it and experience it for yourself. And so this program will lead you in that direction to finding that. I talked about getting uncomfortable and trusting our triggers. That is another foundation. Things that come up that you're triggered by this or that within yourself, those are the things to allow yourself to look at. And if you need support looking at it, we have lots of resources that I'll talk about here in a little bit, because those things can bring up a lot of stuff. But it is about, we need to bring up these things to the conscious awareness so that we can be aware of them and be in control and power. We cannot shift a pattern or a habit or anything in our lives if we're not aware that we have it in the first place, or if we're not aware of where it comes from, of why we have this habit or pattern. And maybe a habit or pattern of our actions, but it could be a pattern of attracting or experiencing the same type of relationships with a different face, the same type of job experiences with a different thing, the same type of, oh, I only get paid this much money, or I'm always having these health issues, or always can't sleep, or I'm always, people don't like me. Whatever the pattern is, that is something that we know is a block, and that is a reflection of where your consciousness is. And so this is our journey together to give you the tools to find out what that is, and so we can go to the next phase. And then the number 5 is we incorporate spirit. And when I use that word, this absolutely has nothing to do with any religious organization. Everyone has a direct line to whatever their higher power, source, spirit, whatever that label is for you. And even if you're someone that is considered atheist or non-spiritual, the connecting point there is connecting to a system that is greater than yourself. We don't control gravity here. Think about the scientific nature of the universe and how everything is connected, how there is something that will happen over the time of cycles. The pendulum always swings right back to the center. So this program is about finding whatever that point of focus is for you, whether it's a God, a spirit, a deity, or just yourself. If you don't believe in higher power, trusting in yourself, we incorporate the energy, quote unquote, spirit into this program. And of course, being a medium and seeing auras, and we'll talk about that next here, that's foundational, because those are the things that we don't talk about that are, if we don't have awareness of it and what our energy is doing, we can't shift it. And if we can't shift it, we can't create real changes in our lives. So background history on myself as a medium, I call myself a mind-body psychic medium. So yes, I connect with people who've crossed over, but I also see energy fields around people, objects, and things, and I can see that in my mind's eye too. So I don't have to be in your physical presence to experience and to get a read on what is your energy doing. And that's something that's been very fascinating for me, because I'm very scientific. I love biology, I love science, I love learning. I love mystical, out there concepts such as aliens and interdimensional planes of existence. So you're going to get the full spectrum with Kara. I'm very dynamic. I love to talk about really weird things, but also let's get really serious and really grounded. What's actually real in the third dimensional plane? Okay. So this is one thing that's very unique about me, that I can kind of walk both these lines, because I see everything from a perspective of curiosity. Not all the time, because sometimes I'm judgmental and closed-minded. That's still my work to, if it's things that I'm still processing in the world. But as I continue to unravel and open and continue to expand my consciousness, the continued question that continues to lead me in that direction is curiosity. What is this? What is that? Versus making a judgment call. And as I do that, I learn more. I see more. One of the things that's fascinating about my process is I had a lot of toxicity, like physiological toxicity, and then trauma in my life that created an altered state of consciousness in me. And so one of those things was lead poisoning. I had a lot of trauma as a child growing up, and I was basically living in a really altered state of reality, like not really here, not in my body. And so a lot of people who come to work with this program and learning to be able to manage their energy are people who consider themselves highly empathic, highly sensitive, or they can see and they are very intuitive. And they're very sensitive and they don't know how to manage that sensitivity. Some people can come to this saying, I want to open up to my intuition. I want to have a direct line to this. I want to see, I want to feel, I want to experience these things. And I'm like, yes, let's do this, because it is important for us to understand that everyone has the intuitive capacity. It's different in how it shows up for each of us, but our nervous systems are wired to compute information to help us survive. And some of that information is helpful from an intuitive perspective. So we'll talk more about that in the program, but I think it's important to just note that this is not something special. Being a medical intuitive is just a label for being able to more look into the physical body and how that connects to your emotions, your character, and what might be blocking you as far as the energy goes. And then, since everything is just information on an energy plane, it's not just limited to your physical body. So when I work with people and do a reading with them, what that looks like, I'll give you kind of a straight black and white for what that looks like. I sit with them and ask them what their goal or their intention is for the session. And then we sit and I'll kind of get in this nice altered state, because that's how I can basically be awake, but I'm sort of dream state. I'm altering my brain waves so that I can pick up on things that I wouldn't in my normal waking state. And I see, I'll feel emotions, I'll hear things, and I get input from all these different types of intuitive, you could say clairs, clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, those senses. And then I work with that person to see, where is it in your ancestral line? Where is it in your physical body, in something that happened in your lifetime, something you're eating right now? What is it that is blocking you today in your journey? And especially if someone's like, I want to attract, a really healthy partner in my life, then we have to look at what are the patterns, where they come from, what are you still holding somatically in your body as far as a pattern of guarding maybe, or things that are unconsciously keeping a new person or a partner coming into your life, and especially one that is healthy for you. So that is just in a nutshell my what I do. How that started for me is I was medicated for many, many years because of seeing. You could probably, I'll pop in information. You can listen to a full podcast episode on this topic. But I share with people that part of my journey was getting my medication detox from my system, being able to see auras again, and having this sort of come back online. And I was working at a chiropractor, and we saw about 200 patients a day there. So I was getting them ready with gentle massage for their adjustment. And it was beautiful because I'd be able to feel and sense and see these disturbances or these distortions in their auric field, similar to this picture on the right, but not as vibrant. Most people don't have vibrant, bright colors like this. It's darker, it might be murky, depending on if they have medications in their system, toxins from their environment, again, toxic thinking or things that are really bringing them down, like depression or anxiety. So there are a lot of things that show up in the color and the frequency. So it's almost like an emanating vibration of frequency that's moving, it's not still, around the body. And so that helped me develop a language for seeing 200 people a day and saying, well, every time I see this type of person and they have this color around them, it's interesting that they have a similar pattern of this person in the way that they're talking, in the way that what are they talking about? Also, they all have low back pain, and I see this particular color and shape around their low back. And then when I'm touching their physical body, I'm getting information from that. So that is, in a nutshell, what a medical intuitive is using the sixth sense or beyond the physical senses to help uncover what might be a more root cause issue going on in someone's physical body or emotional body, and how it all connects. Now, science is my friend. I love science, and I love it because I've wanted to figure out for years. First, obviously, having a core belief that I was crazy. I was hospitalized and put on medications from the age of 14 until I was about 19 for seeing spirits. And that was a part of my undoing my program, right? And I think it's important because it's science can help prove or give us open, more curious perspectives around the things that we cannot see. And I often remind people we only have five senses, and even the instruments that science does have to study frequency and reality are still limited. So we have to remember that as a foundation. But one of the things that I'm very passionate about is helping people understand what the energy field might be as far as what science could relate it to be. First one is biophotons. So this picture up on the top left here, this is just an image of a biophoton. Bio meaning life, photon meaning light. So our system and everything that has most objects have biophoton emissions coming off of them. So it could be plants, inanimate objects, food, yourself. And when biophoton emissions are coming off of the body, it is just information putting it itself out there into the information field and floating around. And so, for example, this picture down on the bottom right, this is a picture of a hand with a Kirlian photography device. Kirlian takes pictures of biophoton emissions. So we are very excited because we're looking to get this device that we can do this. The training that I've gone through, we'll talk a little bit about that, is acupuncture without needles. We use light frequency to shift the energy and frequency of the body through the meridian pathways. And this particular picture here shows different photon activities coming off of the fingers. So there's areas where there's a lot more and there's areas where there's less. So we can tell with someone's particular screening, if we were going to take a picture of your fingers and toes and look at the biophoton emissions coming off, what might be going on physically, if you have any such issues, such as joint issues, sinus issues, issues um, uh, in your lymphatic system. There might be blockages that we could see that's showing up in the way that the information field is either able to have a good flow throughout the system or it's blocked. So that's really the foundation of everything. Do you have too much energy flow in a particular area of your body? Do you have not enough? Or is it imbalanced from top to bottom or left to right? And that's really the foundation of what I see. And when we can measure this with devices and biophotons and Kirlian photography, it's really cool because it's not just someone telling you this is what I see. Here we have thermography. It's another tool that science uses to see excess heat or the difference in temperature in and around the body. So for example, this gentleman down here, it looks like he has a lot more heat going around in the neck area. And right under the left side of his rib, which would be more the pancreas area. So if I were to see him energetically as a medium, I'd look at his aura, I might be like, huh, this guy has potentially, maybe he's got diabetes. Now I don't diagnose, but I say, I think there's some inflammation in your pancreas. Now I wouldn't see it like this. It doesn't look like heat signatures to myself, but how I see it is more wavelength and frequency. And then I feel in my body, I get words. So I get 5 different senses of input to give me almost like playing charades. Like, what is this? I feel something here. Okay, let me hear. Oh, okay, this makes sense. And so this is a way that we can prove, I guess, through thermography, that we can see the differences in heat in the body. And for me, I just see it as far as energy fields. Right here, this woman was injected along her bladder meridian. So this is one of the channels that acupressure or acupuncture, Chinese medicine would work with. And this goes down the whole way down the back of the body. So right here, since there's a lot more going on in her back down than for her leg, we got stuff going on the right side too. But you might say, if I were to look at her from an auric perspective, that this woman has imbalances between the left and the right sides of her body. That can tell us a lot about what's going on in her psychology and, of course, in her system, so we can create balance in the system. She might have, since it's more up in her body here in the back, we want to create balance and clear that energy channel by moving the chi or the nervous system energy out or down through the body and dispersing it through the rest of the body, especially balancing it from right to left. So that's what someone who is an acupuncturist, someone like myself, we do color puncture, it's using light and frequency instead of needles, or an energy worker, or even someone that supports you with just finding balance through stretching and movement, because we can create shifts in our body and in our energy, not just through movement, through massage, through Reiki, through acupressure, acupuncture, but through yoga, through anything that we're going to create balance in the nervous system, breath work, meditation, self-inquiry through journaling. All of these things shift the energy, which is pretty cool. Because for years I was like, why is that person's energy, it's really dense, it's really heavy. And then when we work with them as a coach, we start to see shifts in how they are talking about themselves or seeing themselves, different core beliefs that we help them to shift. Movement in the body, because some people can be very heady and stuck in their head, and then there's not really any movement happening in the body, so they're still having stagnation or imbalance between the energy flow of the upper body and down in the down or lower body. And symptoms we see is a lot of times overthinking and anxiety and getting stuck in the head and not actually having awareness of the physical form, which can show up as not taking care of the body as much, not eating when we need to eat, losing track of time, and all of these things, as you can tell, those absolutely lead into not being able to reach goals, either financially or with our health goals. Those characteristics are absolutely a challenge. But if we can help find balance and bring the energy field down into the body, regulate the nervous system so it can feel more safe, that person can feel safe in their physical form, they get out of the head, they're less thinking, and then they're not stuck in that saboteur or that negative mind that tells them they can't do things. So it goes on and on, this whole connection to why we want to work with the physical body, the energy body, and the mind, the body, and the spirit. It's all connected. And the body doesn't include just body work and energy work, but this is where we do incorporate, when someone needs it, nutrition and diet, or of course, because we're all connected in there too. But for this program, for the main course, we're going to just talk about 3 things and keep it simple for the 7-day refresh. Now, just briefly, I'm going to go through the practitioners of the mind-body system and talk a little bit about our journeys briefly, just so you can get an idea of how this system isn't like, okay, I'm going to do this just to lose weight, or I'm going to do this just to make more money, or I'm going to do this just to get rid of toxic relationships. This system is here for every single thing in your life. And I'm not kidding you. That is why now in my journey, currently, I am working on going to the gym on a consistent basis and enhancing my muscular tone. And for me, I do yoga every day. I'm a yoga practitioner. I eat very healthy. That was part of the journey. I had to get rid of toxic relationships, low self-esteem, brain fog, and the inability to focus. A lot of ADHD symptoms for me because of being in a fight, flight, fawn, freeze response. And we'll talk about that. My mental health was really a struggle for me. I was an over nurturer, an over giver, and I also self-sabotage. So a lot of negative thinking, negative self-talk, and my money mindset was a challenge. So always feeling in lack of time, scarcity, and of course, being a single mother with a child on the spectrum, having to figure out how I'm going to do it. So that was a mental part of my journey of working with this system, working with this program to shift that, so that shifted my entire life. And then of course the body piece. Over time, and again, please keep in mind that you may see things on this list and be like, I never want to give up, sugar or cigarettes or my daily coffee. You don't have to. The unique thing about us as humans is we are all different, and our bodies are all different. And some people do really well with drinking a glass of wine every day and sleeping maybe 10 hours instead of 6 and having that daily cup of coffee. It is down to individually this self-awareness journey we're going to go on. How do we understand what creates disease and imbalance in the energy field in the nervous system? And when we figure out what those substances are, what those mental patterns are, where our energy's imbalanced, then we can go, oh, that makes sense. I'm going to work on with these tools to balance that. So for my body piece, I was a sugar addict, so I got rid of that. I do not eat maybe over 16 grams of sugar a day. If I have any processed sugar, mostly it's fruit and monk fruit and things like that now. Like I said, I've lost over 100 pounds. Very low energy, a lot of chronic fatigue, emotional eating because of not having enough energy and feeling a lot of depression, loneliness. Cigarettes were one of my vices. Gluten and dairy, I chose to not do those because it makes my skin look amazing. I was having a lot of issues with hormone imbalances due to dairy and specifically gluten. And again, that one's just for myself. Chemicals, like I said, I talked about heavy metals, detoxing my body of specific things that my body wasn't able to detox properly. That was a big thing for me. And then from an energy perspective, spirit perspective, energy sensitivity. So I worked with that a lot. Part of my journey being a medium, and a lot of the people out there that are budding in their intuition or they're wanting to up level, work with me because we are helping you manage your energy system so you can go out there, use it at your job, whatever you are. If you're a nurse or you're a caretaker of some sort, you can use your intuition in everything in your life to make everything better. Like, it's really that direct line to source, God. But when you have this interference between the other people's energy in the world and you're feeling so much and you're overwhelmed and overstimulated, you're not in balance. And that is toxicity from the energy perspective. So this can also show up as creativity blocks, lack of faith or trust in yourself or others or higher power, and having poor energy boundaries. So this isn't boundaries with, oh, hey, don't do that. It's, you could have good boundaries verbally, but you can also have a hard time with energy boundaries where you go into a person's space and you feel tired afterwards, or you feel overwhelmed, or someone who's negative brings you down, you allow it to, and you don't have the ability to know how to control that. And so working with me privately, if anyone ever does, I mostly work with helping people learn to manage their energy system through distance coaching with adding in any energy modalities you can work with at home, specific techniques and tools, and body work in person, since I'm a licensed massage therapist and a massage therapy educator too. I do a lot of training and teaching people, other massage therapists, about this type of work. And then Candy is our psychotherapist here. She's been with us forever. I'll briefly go through her information. She had a fear of speaking in groups, a lot of emotional trauma. She works specifically with trauma. So if you are someone that needs a resource anytime throughout this program or after, she's amazing. She does work with people in person. And then we have some people we can refer you to that work remotely. Amazing people that work through trauma and recovery from burnout and other things like that. She had food sensitivities, a lot of arthritis and inflammation, low energy, emotional eating, sugar addiction as well. And her spirit energy detox was guilt, and feeling disconnected from the earth, from her physical body, and from source. So she is a certified trauma and borderline personality disorder therapist. She works with Reiki and shamanic energy principles and ancestral issues. So she is very, very helpful in that capacity. And then Emily has a lot of history of overcoming self-sabotage and low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and shame and guilt, body and weight image, gluten and dairy, food sensitivities, energy management as well, and reconnecting to her source and navigating reactivation of her intuition. She had her intuition just like myself. It was shut down for her. And then how do I work with this and use it not only in my practice, because she does bodywork and massage therapy here in-house in York, Pennsylvania, as well as color puncture and shamanic energy principles. So that is another thing that you can just see a little bit about some of the background of the people who have gone through this. Okay. So the next part here, I'm going to just talk about the evolution of the mind-body reset, just so everyone's aware. There is no starting point. There's not like you got to do mindset first or you got to do the physical body second. It is a very dynamic process. And what I work with people is try to help them figure out where is the best place for you to start right now. So mindset and mental habits, self-talk, self-perception, judgment, and focus, those can be very supportive. And we're going to work with that during the 7-day reset. The physical body, movement, body awareness, those are things that I can incorporate. I have some yoga trainings you can absolutely tap into, some breath work things, but most of that is for our mind body mastery online monthly membership. We have people that can go and do yoga with me once a week. We do breath work. We can incorporate different special things that incorporate the body, self massage, acupressure points that help release any stuck emotions or fight, flight, fawn, or freeze responses in the nervous system. But for this 7-day reset, we're mostly working with the mental, the spiritual. So we're going to understand more, having insight into the energy system and food. So in general, when we are working with mind body principles, we want to look at all of these things: the mind, the body, your spirit, your connection to higher power, food, not just what you're eating, the quantity, the quality, the variety, your routine, how often you're eating, are you skipping too many meals? Like those are things that we look at. When we work one-on-one with people, we get really honed in, and we do it step by step because this is a lot of things, right? It is a holistic model, and we make it very bite-sized and baby steps, but we want to focus on all of them. We can't just go do one and say you're done. It's phases of, let's do a mental focus right now. Okay, that we got through that. Now, what do you want to do? You want to do food? Okay, now let's work with that food piece, and let's see how that continues to support and shift your mental state and your energy, and you're feeling better and better. So through the program for the 7-day reset, we're going to do mind, energy, food, and spirit. And you'll have the connection to the community as well. That's anyone online that's doing this or has done it, and you want to connect with them. All right, so I'm going to just pause here and see if we have any questions. All right, for the 7-day reset, there are going to be very simple things each day. There'll be introductions to each of the 7 areas of the energy system. So you're just going to learn about them. Very simple. We're going to have journal prompts that you can do every day. Just one little area that you can look at these questions and kind of go into yourself. If you don't like journaling, you can just think about them out loud, or you can record yourself on a telephone, whatever you want to do. There are meditation exercises. There's one meditation in this program for 7 days, so you can just do the same thing so you can keep with the consistency. And there are fruit and vegetable smoothie recipes that are pretty great if you want to try those. And then we have the online community space, so you can connect in and check in with us and tell us, how are you doing? Now, keep in mind that this 7-day reset is meant to be 7 days, but the reality is most people don't do it in 7 days, like more than 70% of people. Because when we're starting something new, when we're starting something new, it's already getting in a routine of what we're doing, right? You're starting a whole new thing. Okay, I'm going to have time to myself. I'm going to check out this journal prompt and do this on a daily basis. And maybe I'll do the meditation. That's enough. Just doing the journal prompts is enough. We give this full spectrum approach to look at the modules, kind of see where you might be imbalanced, have some journal prompts for self-awareness, and have a meditation to kind of really relax your nervous system and go deeper, and then some of the food piece. But it's never expected for you to do all of it. Actually, in fact, unless you're really already pretty balanced and regulated and you have a good routine, and this feels easy to you, then you're already ready for like our next program, like our next phase of this. But this is where we start because we have to create a foundation of self-care and some sort of routine that we can build upon that you can then expand and start to really shift your energy and your frequency. And most people, like I said, 70% of people don't do this in 7 days. For someone that does, and they're very, like they do every single thing, that's amazing. But I would also then inquire if you're doing every single thing to the T, where is your perfectionist personality coming out? Potentially, right? It may not be you. You're the only one that can know that and ask that question to yourself, right? But that's really more than if someone's a perfectionist and they're like, I do every single thing, I did it. There is a great dopamine rush you can get from doing all the things, but are you someone that if you didn't do that one day or you skipped it, you're really hard on yourself? And then you sabotage. Okay. That mindset comes in like, I'm not perfect. I'm not enough because I didn't do it right or didn't do it, quote unquote, the right way. So that's important. That's important to remember. I'm a high achiever. I'm a recovering type A personality. Come on, y'all. Perfectionism is something that has been something that I've worked on detoxing from my journey and allowing things, surrendering, knowing that it's not all about being perfect and making sure every single thing is done the right way. There is no right way. So that is something that I encourage you to be gentle with yourself throughout this 7 days or 14 days or however long it takes you, because you can do this and then you can like skip 3 days and be like, oh, or you can be on day 2 and really be getting a lot of insight just out of the journal prompts. Like, wow, that I never thought about that about myself. And it may take you 2 or 3 days to process and integrate those questions, this new self-awareness that you didn't have before. So even though this is 7 days, it's set up because what do we like? We like a 7-day, 21-day, 14-day detox. We like these things. Okay. This is how we package things and market things. Okay. Right. My biggest challenge for years is like, this thing is a very organic process that we work one-on-one with my clients for years before I created this system. And we need a system so that we have some sort of structure to go through it solo on our own. And also when people work with me, they go through this stuff in between sessions. But it's just the reality is like we created this structure. It's man-made. It is a very natural organic process. As I live this program and its principles, it is a more natural organic process of where's my energy imbalance today or in this season of my life for this year, for these months. Okay, based on that and the foundations of what I've learned through this program and Mind Body Detox, Mind Body Radiance, the different program levels we have, what can I do now to focus on this? And now I'm going to incorporate food and meditation, just those two things. And maybe next week I'll do the journal prompts. And that's why you saw the list earlier from Candy and Emily and myself of things that we've worked on and completely transformed in our lives. It's because this actual foundation can be used to apply to anything in your life. You can do this 7-day reset with one focus and objective, and then come do it 3 months later and be like, I'm going to focus on doing this now. And the same thing will come, you'll have the same journal prompts and you'll actually have a different focus or intention for your question, and it will bring up something completely new, which is really, really cool. All right, so this is the time where if you have your downloaded intro guides, we're going to focus and give you some time to set your goals. On this sheet, you'll see that we have 6 areas of life satisfaction. It's a self-assessment. And we do this because when we have stuff we want to change in our lives, we get so excited sometimes we don't know where to start. And there's so many things we might want to change. I'm still that way. There are like 16 things I'd like to change and shift in my life right now that I'm excited to do that. But I have learned that the slow and steady wins the race. That pace is usually what creates success. So by choosing one thing, really getting that new habit, shift, mental pattern, belief into a new regulated state first, that is where I find the success. So we're going to focus on one area. And to help narrow down what area in your life might be the one that would create the biggest shifts for you, we want to do a life satisfaction self-assessment. And these are 6 different areas of your life. So the first one is your personal life. So on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the most satisfied, 1 being least satisfied, where do you feel satisfied as far as your self-esteem? Your self-acceptance, maybe time with yourself. So scale of 1 to 5, and no one's grading you, no one's judging you for this except for yourself. That's really the truth. So we ask you to be gentle with yourself. There's no right or wrong. This is just going to give us a idea of where we are in a spectrum of focus. So we might have more need at the end of these 6 areas to focus on one particular area. The second area is interpersonal health. So this is time with friends, family, fun and play, your social life. This is a huge one for people in our culture. We have an epidemic of loneliness. We are working too much. So again, don't judge yourself. It is a part of what we've been programmed to do. And there is no right or wrong. Sometimes we also perceive that we should be socializing every weekend or spending a lot more time with people. We need to take consideration our own energy. And as you learn to be more aware of who you are, what your bandwidth is, and what your particular style is, you might only feel content of hanging out with people once every 2 or 3 months. You might be more an introspective person that needs a lot of alone time, and you feel content with having a couple, times every couple months, seeing people, socializing. So that 1 to 5 scale is based on you, not just what you think you should be doing, what the culture says we should be doing. Okay. Third area is our purpose. This includes our career or our calling or line of work, even if it doesn't pay. We might have a purpose right now to be a student. We might have a purpose to be a mother. We might have a purpose to dive into our spirituality. We sense whatever that purpose is. And we might not know what that is. We might say, I don't know what my calling is. I don't know what that is. And so then that satisfaction assessment will be lower on the scale. Physical health includes your mental health, any physical symptoms, your physical environment, your sleep health, and your energy. So your physical energy day to day. So a scale of 1 to 5. Your financial health includes income management and confidence with money or resources. So you maybe the flow's low right now, but you know that you're confident with managing your resources when they're here. But you still may not be happy about it with what it is in the current situation, the ebb and flow, but just a scale of 1 to 5 that area too. And then the spiritual health. This includes feeling supported and connected. So whatever that means to you. And some people come to me when they're like, I don't have a connection, or I'm changing my connection with higher power, God. It's different from you now. I don't really know what it's looking like. I'm curious and it's expanding. But either way, where do you feel as far as that satisfaction? So once you've given yourself a little bit of time, you can pause the video if you need to pause the recording, to sit in there and think which area needs the most attention. Then let's pick one. Let's pick one of those areas. Let's say it is personal health. That's the one that has the big, and you might have 2 that are tie. It's just still picking one. Then we're going to go down and select, we call it a toxin. It's something that you'd like to eliminate from your life. And we want to choose one to focus on for the 7-day reset. Just one thing. And it may not be on this list. These are just suggestions and things that we've seen that are common for people. So like a really big one could be negativity or anger and frustration, anxiety or fear, or toxic relationships. So if we pick one of these things, an unhealthy pattern, like procrastination, that will be the main focus for the week. And then you can see how you could do this for maybe having the excessive use of electronics. Maybe that's your pattern or symptom. You focus on that for 7 days and you feel like, wow, that was really amazing. I feel really good about that. You can come back, do the 7 day frequency fix, and then address something else. You might be like, you know what? I want to try for the next 7 days to cut out sugar or carbs or cut them down or change from, processed sugars to natural sugars for 7 days. And then you might feel really good about it after the whole process. And you might say, I want to continue on with this pattern. So that's how, again, you can utilize this intake solo guide to do again and again and again. You can do it as many times as you need to. It's pretty cool. All right. So after we kind of set our intention of where we want to go with our life assessment, and we're looking at one toxin or one thing we're focusing on, we want to give ourselves space and time to set our long-term goal. What is it that we want to get out of this long term? Long term is I would like to have, and we want to make it specific. If you're looking to shift your relationships and have more connections socially, make that goal specific. I would like to have one close friend that I see once a month by 6 months from now, whatever. You can set a time frame with it, but the more specific you are, the more when you have gone past when you've gone to the end of this, you can check back and see, all right, where am I in relation to my goal? We also want to write down potential obstacles and obstacle solutions. So if your goal is to have more long-term or closer friend connections, what are the obstacles? Maybe an obstacle is you don't go out socially. Maybe you don't have any groups you're a part of that have like-minded people. So maybe it's finding a group or a club or looking for something online that would be a solution, obstacle solution, or even asking friends for suggestions for places to go meet people that have like-mindedness. Because maybe a potential obstacle is you are around a lot of people, you're just not around the right people. So that would be an obstacle. A solution would be, writing down a list of qualities, characteristics of people you would like to be around, or even could be a romantic partner you're looking to attract. What does the specific personality look like? So we're writing that down. And then we have action steps. Of course, you can do more than 3, but we try to keep it simple. 3 action steps to meet your goal. So if it is, I want to meet new people, then number 1 would be researching or writing down exactly what type of people I'm looking to meet. Step 2 would be making a list of places those people might hang out. Step 3, picking one of those places to go explore. So underneath there is, I know I've reached my goal when. It's nice because if we set the long-term goal and said, I want to have one close friend that I hang out with once a month within 6 months, in 6 months we can say, I know I've reached my goal when I have one friend and I'm seeing them at least once a month or at least every other month, I'm setting myself up for success. Maybe we're really busy. And that feels really good. In 6 months, I've met my goal because I made it very specific. And then the part that I encourage you to take time to do, again, pause this video, is to really write out how will your life shift after you meet this goal. This is to use your imagination, and you can state this as like if you're currently writing almost an affirmation style. Like right now, you could say, I love hanging out with my new friend, Sally. And we enjoy going to parks, going hiking, going out to eat. I love seeing her once a month. She has such a great sense of humor. She helps me with my beauty routine. She gives you cool tips. She loves my nerdy style of sense of humor. You're writing it down and you're making it more of from a mental place, you're putting it on paper in the present tense, but you're also creating this emotional charge around it. And we talk more about that in higher parts of the program of manifestation and how the emotional state and the mental state, when they're in balance and your unconscious mind is in coherence and in agreement with your conscious mind, that's when we could create these actual things happening as a reality. Of course, we're not just creating out of thin air. We still have these action steps. We're still setting a goal of what we want to create, attract, whatever it is. And we're figuring out what the obstacles might be mentally, emotionally, physically, things we need to do, create some solutions and make the action steps. But then we want to allow ourselves to imagine and really go deeper into what it is we're looking to create. Now we've written down what we want to do. And this is the fun part where we get to look at, okay, where in my energy field, if Kara were to sit with me, where would I might have imbalances? And this is a self-assessment test that you can do. And I encourage you to write down the assessment foundations if there's anything that becomes imbalanced in the assessment you take. If I meet with people in person, I do an energy screening and kind of give them an idea of what's going on in their energy field, where they might have imbalances. And then they can tell me, yes, I absolutely have hip pain. Like I have chronic hip pain, and or I have really heavy menstrual cycles, and I'm seeing a lot of imbalance around the hips in that area. And usually that correlates with people not having a lot of drama in their life, having issues with their relationships, having money issues sometimes, lack of creativity or too much creativity. It depends if there's a lot of activity or not enough in that area of the body, in the auric field. So I will give them an idea based on what I'm seeing. Now, of course, I can't read for everybody remotely right here, right now. So what I've done is we've created an assessment tool that you can pinpoint maybe some of the areas that are imbalanced. And then throughout the week with the 7 days, you're going to have some more characteristics that will be brought up every day to kind of give you an idea. So you can go to the Mind Body Detox module test in the platform. It'll take you to this area here. And this is the quiz. This will give you a bunch of different questions you can ask. And then once you submit at the bottom, it'll give you an outcome of what of these modules are imbalanced. And this is where I'm going to go to this bigger form here. This is where you can write in or check mark any of these that are imbalanced for you. The next thing is we will have tracking sheets and journal downloads. Please, if you're like, I don't want to do all that. I just want to look at my energy. I want to go through these things every day and listen to your videos and maybe just listen to the questions. That's perfect. Please do not sabotage yourself if you don't have a printer or if you don't want to print tracking sheets, if you don't care about tracking sheets. Tracking sheets, if you have imbalances in the physicality module, in the creation module, in any of these areas that relate to needing to have more awareness of your physical body, what are you putting in your body? How does that affect your body? How's it affecting your sleep, your energy, your mood? Then you may not have a need for tracking sheets, but if you are really, you will find more empowerment through using those tracking sheets if you're having a lot of difficulties in that. So I'm going to show you the tracking sheets of what they look like. So it is just checking in on how long you slept the night before, what your quality of sleep is. If you've had any dreams and if you want to write them down, that's kind of fun to note, especially when you do shifts like this and you're doing this self-inquiry. Your dreams are full of gold. Like they have lots of awareness and little insights that could be supportive for you. Sometimes they get wacky if you're changing your diet and you're increasing some of the healthy foods and you're like, oh wow, my body's starting to detox some of this like fast food I've been eating. Then sometimes we can have sleep disturbances and different dreams that are just weird. Or if you're eating different foods in general, but you can use this space to track your sleep. We have areas for tracking what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No one's grading you. No one's scoring you in this, okay? This is just helping you understand before you eat a meal, are there any emotions you're feeling? This helps us with the intuitive eating process. This is, hey, yeah, before breakfast, I'm so hungry and I'm really cranky. Great. And on a hunger level, like I'm on a 5, I'm like really hungry when I wake up. These are really important because even if you have these tracking sheets and you start seeing a nutritional coach or someone that helps you with looking at things from an integrative approach, they will really this will be helpful for them because they might be like, wow, we're seeing that your blood sugar is crashing around this time. We're seeing these type of cravings of this type of substance or food can actually indicate this type of nutritional deficiency, which is really cool. So there are really a lot of information and data that can not just help you with self-awareness, but help another practitioner you might be working with. You can write what you ate down, what you ate, where, portions, and any snacks. If you did any physical activity, how much water you drank. And then if you added on anything that day, that's really cool because if you're like, I did the meditation or I did the journal exercises or I tried this smoothie today, you can write any notes about these things because then the next day, say you slept really well and you did the meditation, it just helps you to track and go, yeah, when I do that, or when I do this, it helps. Or when I do this, it actually makes things worse. This is where the self-empowerment comes in. You are the one who's creating the shifts through the self-awareness of what might be best for you. So the online platform, we're going to show you that and show you what that looks like. And after this live webinar and the recording, you'll have access to watch this over and over again. But each day is going to be very much the same. There'll be a daily video, a journal prompt, a meditation recording you can listen to. It's the same thing every day, and then a smoothie recipe if you want to try it out. So once you get your module test scores and write that on your sheet, you are ready for diving into the program. I want to take a break here and just ask if there's any questions. And then we're going to go into talking about the balance between spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and the stress response, the fight, flight, fawn, freeze. These are really important and foundational to talk about. So just going to pause and see if anyone has any questions. All right, and then of course, you guys are getting such a bonus over the top information. So you can put this information in your brain or you can take it or leave it. It's just something I really like to help people have an awareness of, that when we talk about the physical structure of the body, how that piece fits into the holistic integrative model, it isn't just your physical bones, your tissue, your massage, when you're getting massage, you're getting your muscles. It's how you are chemically. What's your hormonal system doing? And that is foundational to what you're eating, what you're putting in the body, what type of chemicals or toxins are maybe disrupting your hormones and your chemical balance. And then your physical structure. How are you carrying your body, your posture, things like that. So the foundation is our physical body. We are physical beings, right? And it's not just what we're eating, it's how we hold ourselves and things like that. But the mental, emotional part of ourselves, layered on top of that, does affect our chemical, hormonal, how we feel. The things we're thinking affects our emotions. And then those can affect the way we carry our structure, our posture. If we're concaved, if we're feeling confident, we stand up more straight and we're feeling powerful. The mental, emotional thinking and beliefs affect our chemicals. Whether we feel really good and we're having good thoughts about ourselves, endorphins are running through our body, we're feeling happy, or we're continuing to berate ourselves. So these things are connected. And then the energetic. The energetic is a snapshot of the consciousness of your mental state and how that's affecting your physical state. So that is the effervescing energy field that is around your body. And from a spiritual perspective, I believe we're souls on this journey living in our lives, and we are this life force that's just pure. And this sense of being, the beingness that we've kind of lost track of. We're more doing, we do, and we think. And there is a part of ourselves that is just always there, observing, watching within ourselves, our life. And we don't necessarily always have it, we're in touch with that, unless we're very present. And sometimes it's like we're very present eating a piece of cake because it's delicious, right? We're really present. We're not in our thinking mind. We're really content in being with friends. It could be having sex. It could be having a good workout. There are times in our lives that we have these maybe spiritual experiences, maybe traveling and seeing the Grand Canyon. Something beautiful brings this presence of ourselves out. And instead of the thinking mind taking over and the consciousness of layers of programs, beliefs, who we think we are, who we think we're supposed to be, what we're eating, our structure, those physical things can completely dissolve. And it's more just our nature of who we are, observing and being. And when I see those things in people, when they have like that moment of clarity with themselves, they're just their true nature, and they're not stuck in the mental patterns, there's this like effervescing life force of their aura gets big and bright. And it's just like babies walk into the room and they have this shining, glowing light about them. We all have that within us at all times. And yes, there are layers of programs and thoughts and even the things we're feeding our bodies that affect that and diminish that light and that life force. The auric field gets smaller and more close to the body because we don't have a lot of this bright energy just shining out from us. But it doesn't mean that we have to completely change our diet and our structure and our mental emotional states to experience that in this moment. There are shortcuts to doing it, but it is so much part of our wiring and our pattern that we do have to utilize the reality of the third dimensional structure over time through changing what we're eating so that can change our microbiome, change our mood. I have a podcast on the connection between the gut and the mind and how that affects our mood and our emotions, and of course our mental thoughts and patterns, and then how we're treating our body, movement versus stagnation. So they're all connected, and that's where I think when we're shifting from an old model of let me give you a pill or physical therapy or surgery or some one thing to address a symptom, that model is outdated. It's very helpful for us as human beings to understand how all these little intricate parts work and study deep down into how the kidneys work and these different systems individually. But now you have specialists for all different types of things. I only specialize in the heart center, or the person specializes in the kidneys or the blood. But they're not seeing a cohesiveness between the mental, emotional, the physical, and then of course the spiritual. No doctor is going to touch the spiritual with a 10-foot pole right now. Now that's not something that's going to continue to happen. We have medical intuitive professionals training different types of doctors out there who are I'll say they're not all secret about it, but there are doctors that have this capacity. They're like, I want to utilize the ability to sense and see energy fields or pick them up so that I can use that as another assessment tool to say, oh, wait, let's go get an x-ray. Let's go get an MRI specifically here because I'm seeing something. Like, it makes no sense scientifically not to incorporate the spiritual because it's more efficient and it gives you more data to be able to get a better diagnosis and to support someone on their health journey and then to give them the right resources and professionals to go to. But this model, what I'm showing you here, is something that this might be very new to us, and that's okay, but it will take a while to get it, and that's okay because we're coming from a completely different paradigm. And just think about, we can't even imagine what it was like in our world when everyone believed that the world was flat. Like, really, they thought it was flat. Or everyone believed that the earth was the center of the universe, that the sun revolved around us, right? Until we had telescopes to see. It was such a shift foundationally in our consciousness and our awareness and how we then reacted or interacted with the world. And we're seeing this big shift now. We need to understand things from a systems perspective, not just parts. So that is my soapbox for today. All right, let's talk about the fight, flight, fawn, freeze response. When we are working on balancing our system, there are 4 responses that we have, and we are animals, so we have this older part of the brain that is used to getting in these stages, and it's natural. It's helped us survive. If you get startled because someone pulls out in front of you, you might jump, you might gasp, you might shake a fist. Whatever it is, those are the 4 stress responses: fight, flight, fawn, freeze, that we might see. It's good to be aware of what your pattern or what your default pattern might look like. In the Mind Body Mastery monthly support group, we have resources for learning to manage these in a deeper way. But if you are reactive from fight, flight, fawn, freeze, the higher part of the brain that connects you to your intuition, that helps you to regulate your emotions, it's very hard to do so when these responses are coming on. And it could be substances that we're having, like high caffeine or stimulants or things that then bring our nervous system into this heightened state, that even though we're doing all the mental processes of journaling or meditation, that the physical chemicals we're putting in our bodies are continuing to keep us in this heightened state of alertness and for survival. And in that state, the energy system is not downregulated and the chakra system is not balanced. And we will continue to see these perpetuation of old patterns in your thinking, in your body. And so the fight, flight, fawn, freeze response is just something to become aware of. When you get heightened, do you get aggressive, angry, or frustrated? There's no right or wrong way. It's not good or bad. It's just, what is your space? And the fight response is to help us defend ourselves, to be safe. Now, when we have something comes up in our dynamic with life that we get frustrated, it is a call to use that response to create a boundary for ourselves or for others. So these responses are helpful for us too when we use them consciously. It's just when they get activated and we're not practiced enough to know when we're in these states, and this is a practice, trust me, 13 years practice for myself, to recognize when I move into those states. It's important because then you can then recognize first, hey, I'm in one of the responses. We can use some techniques to down regulate. Now I'm totally in balance now. And now I have more control over my eating situation, my spending situation, how I'm interacting with my partners, how I'm showing up work. And all those things affect our life, our happiness, our finances, our relationships, our physical health. So the fight, flight, fawn, freeze response is the big thing because people try, like, I meditated and I do yoga, I do all these things, and it's just not working still. Or maybe it's only working to some degree. And I'm going, but you're still an animal. Like I am too. There are things that someone might jump out of a closet at you and you punch them, like you're a fighter. You're just like all of a sudden it's a natural response. It's being aware of our animalistic nature, knowing how we can biohack it to be able to reset and redirect ourselves, and then not being hard on ourselves because we quote unquote failed. This is where self-sabotage comes up over and over again because people are stuck in one of these trauma responses or stress responses, and then they don't recognize that that's what's holding them back. The flight response can be a lot of anxiety, a lot of fleeing, a lot of moving, avoidance, right? And again, if you're overloaded with work or life, you can be very scattered. And that energy is kind of like you trying to leave the situation and trying to think about what I need to do next, and your energy's all over the place. And that response can create a lot of anxiety in the body. Most people in that state, their energy is not anchored into the physical form. They're more disassociated a lot of times, and they're ready to leave and go somewhere else. And that's where we avoid or we procrastinate. Oh, I'll do it later because it's uncomfortable because we're still stuck in that flight response instead of just taking a moment to use some tools and techniques to down regulate it. And then we can, oh, I didn't have to eat that food now. Oh, I'm really recentered now. I can totally like now focus on what I was supposed to do. The fawn response is people pleasing. So if we've had a response from stress that people in our lives, they get mad, they get upset, we feel it, we don't like it, or there's potential for danger because of abuse or some sort of background with that, we then will move into the space of like trying to make sure everyone's okay. And that might be a way that we sabotage because we take care of everyone else's needs first instead of our own. Obviously, it's different if we have children. That's a sacrifice that we make sometimes, but there's trying to allow the awareness around where am I not holding a boundary for my needs and taking care of everyone else because it's temporarily makes me feel safe if everyone's calm. Like it's a temporary thing. And then the freeze response is where we just completely, when we get overwhelmed, we disassociate, we check out, or we just freeze up and we become immobilized. We get overwhelmed, we don't know what to do. I don't know what to do next. Okay. So I want us to move forward with having compassion about these and know that every single human on the planet has this. It helps you then when you're triggered by other people just to be like, oh, they're in animal mode. Like that's what's going on with them. And the more self-aware you become of your own patterns, and we have all these different patterns in us, but we can use techniques and tools to get out of them and to help the nervous system and the physical body show up in a place of coherence. It's not in a place of stress. All right, so the modules and the colors, we're going to talk about those. So this energy system is based on frequency and light. So when I see people's auras, I see different colors, different hues, and when people are very healthy and balanced, they have a vibrant rainbow in their energy field. And it can shift. When people have dark or dingy colors, it can show up with, again, what they're eating, how they're talking to themselves, how they're being, what their consciousness looks like. So we want to be aware of what the colors mean because a bright and vibrant color can be something that can be indicative of life force. Like there's a lot of energy here, vitality here. If it's more like slow or dark colors, it can affect the energy field. Now, we talked about biophotons recently. I just want to remind you guys, we right now are looking at a computer screen and there is light going into your eye. You are affected by different frequencies of light. That's why blue blocking glasses are so popular. There's a blue frequency of light that comes through your computer screens, your TV screens, that affects the pineal gland and our production of melatonin. So if we can't have production of melatonin at sleep, our circadian rhythms get off. We have a hard time sleeping or falling into deep stages of sleep. And then melatonin is associated with our serotonin production, which helps us with antidepressant. So we're feeling good about ourselves. So that's just one example of one frequency of light, blue, that can affect our consciousness. So interestingly enough, it's not just when we have colors coming at us or we're looking at colors on the screen or on a piece of art on the wall or outside. Color affects us not just through our eyes but through our skin, because we have receptors, biophoton receptors in our skin. This of course helps us determine what's going on around us. So I'm so sensitive to color that and everyone has we'll have a shift depending on what colors you have that you're wearing in your decoration, in your area, what you're looking at on a screen. Depending on your energy sensitivity, you might be more sensitive than others. So I am neurodivergent. My energy sensitivity or sensitivity to input visually, I'm very sensitive to color. So looking at a color will activate me or sedate me, make me feel relaxed, or shift my consciousness. So I'm very aware of that. And because of that, I was able to see how it does shift everyone else's too. Just maybe not to the degree it does mine, because I'm more attuned to it. But it does still shift us. So using the color theory, we can utilize placing colors in our lives, wearing specific colors, looking at specific colors to create a shift in our consciousness. So, example we talk about in the first video that you'll watch when you start the program is a pink color is calming to the system. They actually put pink in waiting rooms in hospitals and in jail so that they can calm the inmates. It is psychologically normally what that color does to the system. Green also is very calming and relaxing, and it's very neutral as far as the color spectrum. It's in the middle between, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. It's right in the middle. So that spectrum of green is very calming and balancing. Most of the things on the planet are green. We have green plants, green trees. There's a lot of green, and it's a very calming color. Red is a very activating color. There is a reason why fast food restaurants usually use the color red in their branding, in the lighting, and this active motion, do, go, quick, don't think, reactivity. It makes us buy things and it increases our hunger, it increases our blood pressure. So color affects us and influences us, and not just if you're looking at it with your eyes, although we have more biophoton receptors in our eyes, so those colors can shift our consciousness. But if we're wearing the color on our skin, no joke, last week I was doing the Mind Body Detox podcast, and I was doing an episode on Mind Body Mastery, the root chakra. And I put on a red shirt because that chakra, that energy center, is associated with life force, movement, doing, physicality, and just this energy and of life force, of being physically grounded in the physical world. And I put the color on, I was wearing the shirt. And after the podcast, I had a meeting with my virtual assistant and I said, Alana, I'm sorry, but I cannot wear this shirt anymore. I have to take it off. I already have a lot of energy, if you can't tell. That was too much for me. Maybe on a day where I'm tired, it's dingy outside, it's dark, that color would maybe give me some more energy, like yellow and reds, very energizing colors, orange as well, they're warm colors. That would be more supportive for me. But I give you that as an example because throughout this program, you're going to have a color each day. There's 7 colors we focus on. Many different shades of green, many different shades of blue. But, we know that. We know there's different shades, but we're going to focus generally on one color. And you're just going to have this awareness of that color in your wardrobe. Do you have a lot of it? Do you not have a lot of it? That's interesting, especially when you look at the imbalances in each of the body zones that are associated with each color. If you're like, I have a lot of green, like green, everything's green. And then you're like, oh, I'm also an overgiver. I also give to everyone else. I'm also an overnurturer. Oh my gosh, I don't have really boundaries. Oh, I struggle with this. Like if you have a lot of that color, it could mean that you use that color in your life to help balance you. It could be supportive, or you maybe have too much of that, because that's what I'm looking at when I see people's energy fields. They, look at this picture in the middle with these characteristics. These are the chakra colors. So if someone has way too much blue, and this is around the throat center. We're gonna talk about this in the next slides here. But if they have too much of that going on, it potentially will show me that they potentially could have neck issues because there's way too much energy flow in that area. There's way too much color effervescing out of their body, out of their auric field. And it can mean that they're trying to express themselves, or they don't feel heard, or they're trying to overexert their voice or their personal authenticity, whatever it is. So that can show up. So we're going to keep in mind the colors. Each day there's going to be one color, and just to notice how that color affects you when looking at it. Notice if you have a lot of it in your wardrobe or in your decor, and we'll go through that. And then we'll talk about the characteristics of each of the modules and their complaints, so the common conditions that you'll see in that area. So I'm going to give you an example of day one. This is the nurture module. So if you have an imbalance in this, you took the energy assessment, right? The energy assessment, and you got down here and you're like, wow, I have an imbalance in this module. Okay, well, this is where we're going to get more pinpointed with it. If you notice that you had imbalances in everything, that's okay too. Just please know that that's pretty normal. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just be aware. But if you're looking here at this picture, we're going to be aware, do you have any issues physically, like tightness, congestion, maybe diagnoses of any of the organs that relate to the lungs, the chest, the breast, the heart, the thymus, or maybe they run in your family, right? It may be not something that's showing up for you physically yet, but it's a pattern that's been passed down. It's a pattern of having asthma or breathing issues or consistently getting sick or getting pneumonia, or maybe you're a smoker. Maybe you have heart condition or heart murmur. Maybe your upper back, so again, around the back, the shoulders, back, arms, any of these areas that are associated with this area have physical congestion or tightness or soreness. That can indicate that that is out of balance. So if we would measure on your body, we could see either there's overactivity or underactivity in that area. And if I would see it from an aura perspective, I might say there's a lot of overactivity. This person's got a lot of green in their aura, which is lovely. I love green people. But when we see too much of it, that person may have an inability to give or receive. They may be guarded emotionally if it's really shut down. They could be more selfish, they could be more jealous, depressed, or lonely, or they could be a huge people pleaser, trying to extend this loving heart's energy out from the body and trying to make sure everyone's okay, right? That can be another imbalance that can show up. If they're balanced in this area, the attributes you'll see will be more loving, able to be compassionate with yourself and others, peaceful, being able to be at peace, calm, the ability to give and receive gracefully. If you have a hard time receiving a compliment, that's receiving, right? Receiving gifts, receiving things from people. If you're able to be joyful, or if you're always more negative or resentful, or it's just more kind of like, that can be imbalanced. And then the ability to express love. So the colors associated with this are green and pink. So it's interesting that love is associated with pink. Green is a nurturing color. And this is what we see in people who have those qualities. Someone who's very compassionate and nurturing and loving will have a lot of green and pink in their aura. Now, how we can shift this too, if you say, I'm shut down, I don't have a lot of this stuff. Remember how I said we have biophoton receptors in our eyes, in our skin? You can actually wear this color. Wear it as a scarf, or put it on your desktop screensaver, or put it in the background. You can utilize the color green or pink in your environment or on your body to then absorb this frequency of light. Because remember, everything around us is a frequency, it's vibrating, and we are information input receivers. Our nervous system are receiving it, and specifically the biophoton receptors in our skin and eyes. So this can allow that energetic signature of green or pink to influence us to become more calm, more at peace. That's why, again, they put pink and green in hospitals and the prison system, okay? So if we can utilize that color through wearing it, that can affect us. You'll see that the smoothie recipes incorporate a lot of those types of colored fruits and vegetables to, again, get that stuff inside us. There's a whole other information on how those things nutrient-wise affect us and affect these modules. But in general, we are looking at the specific color, the body zone, and any of the imbalanced attributes. So this is how, if you've got a lot of things that are marked imbalanced on your module test, your assessment, you go through each day and just mark and say in your journal prompts, yeah, I definitely feel that it's harder for me to receive or to give. And that might be an indicator for the imbalance for you. And that's where you can then be aware, and then you can make some changes. So how we find balance in our system. Awareness is first. You cannot make a change unless you have awareness you have it in the first place. So we can track it with the tracking sheets. That helps us with that self-awareness. We can incorporate color into our diet, into our clothing, into our decor, into our backgrounds of our computers, on our cell phones, make a green background, whatever color you want to incorporate that, showing you have that imbalance. And then the journaling and the meditation. Those are the three things we're going to do for the 7-day reset. The whole mind body mastery system has more stuff, which is pretty fun and pretty cool to get into, but these are just as powerful for your starting point. I'm telling you, don't underestimate how powerful these things are just by shifting these things first. Keep it simple, simple, sustainable, and sustainable creates more foundations for change and transformation long term. Here's an example of the smoothie recipes. You don't have to try them. Maybe you love them, maybe you don't love them. It's going to be there for you. And you, of course, you have access to all this stuff as long as you are accessing the content on the online. So this is a green smoothie for the nurture module. And then I want to just become aware of, you're only doing this for 7 days, but if you're changing stuff, even if you're not changing food, which is pretty crazy, you might have some symptoms of detox come up. Digestive changes. Now think about it. If you have ever had a stressful thought or something come up that starts to create indigestion or, butterflies in your stomach, that's a mind-body connection there of how our mental state affects our physiological state. And so think about it. If you're bringing up some things and you're journaling about stuff and you have this underlying pit in your stomach that you're like, oh, that's a trigger for me. You bring it up and then maybe resolve it through this journal process and go, I feel a lot better about this. You might shift because your nervous system was able to down regulate. Those butterflies start to go away. Maybe this underlying feeling of anxiety you had, you resolved a particular thought you were having and you wrote it down and then it's cleared. And then you're like, my digestion's changed. I'm going to the bathroom more. Maybe because you're more relaxed. You're more in rest and digest instead of fight, flight, fawn, freeze, which those responses shut down the digestive system. So maybe you're having more gurgling in your stomach because you're more relaxed because of this process. That is a potential sign that you can have come up. Headaches, if we start drinking more water and we're detoxing, right? That can be there. Aching muscles or joints, if you are incorporating smoothies or changing any of the foods, because you can have these toxins that are like, oh, we're ready to go. She's putting more healthy things into the body. These can go. Increased thirst or urination. We can get some nasal drip or phlegm sometimes when we're going through a detox. We can have maybe bad breath or skin breakouts, fatigue or sleep changes, or cravings or emotional fluctuations. Now, these are just things just to be aware of. They don't always happen to everybody, but people when they get into this, they don't realize how powerful the mind and body is, that when you down regulate your system and you start to relax and take care of you, you're like, oh my gosh, I lost 2 pounds this last week. I didn't even try to do that. I wasn't even doing the food. I just was less stressed and I was drinking more water or something happened because of that ripple effect. So that's just be important to be aware of. And then I always say it's just for disclaimer, it's very rare, because I can't see everybody who's working through this program at home. If you're really struggling with your mental health and you're going through things that, if the journal prompts are bringing up stuff for you that are really just triggering and you're feeling hopeless or a desire to self-harm, again, these are not deep, I say they're questions that dive into yourself, but they're not the deep questions we go into the higher levels of this program. But I would just tell people there is resources, crisis intervention. There are people to reach out to. Please do so because I'm not aware of what's going on in your personal life right now if I'm not seeing you, right? And in this age of our mental health struggles and age of loneliness in our culture, it's something that I want to make sure I mentioned. I'm a huge mental health advocate. I think it's really important. I have my people. We all need to have our people, and we need to get over that stigma of getting that support. So the tracking sheets, you have the opportunity again to do a video every day, track what your sleep looks like, do the module inventory. Am I imbalanced or balanced in this particular energy center? How is it showing up in my body in this, based on what's today? There's a meditation you do, and you can do the journal prompts and the rest and the affirmations. And the food, the smoothies. So that's really your groove. And I'll show you what it looks like on the platform here in a second. With the tracking sheets, I already showed you those. And I'm going to show you the online community space now. If you have not gotten on there yet, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Then I'm going to come back to the frequently asked questions that we have. So let's go to our space. So the mind body energy reset, this space has a couple different tabs. The first tab is the community. So this is where you can type in things. You can share photos with us if you want. I can share like anything. I want to put a photo in here. You can do gifts just like you do on social media. So this is like our place to share whatever we want and connect with each other on what's going on. You can then go to the course materials because this event, this is the event that we're in here, the events tab. You'll see there'll be, if you're in this live, so throughout the year, we have a live of the 7-day reset together. If you're joining us and watching the recordings, you can just access the recordings in the course material. If you see this events tab, click on it because that means there's going to be live events during the time you're joining the program. So right now at the time of this recording, next week we'll have a wrap-up webinar that will go live again and we'll talk, and there'll be an event here that you can click on to go to that particular live Zoom. If not, you're watching the recording, it'll be under the course materials. So with the course materials, if you've already accessed this stuff, you're going to be, you'll have an introduction video every day. You'll have a video to watch that'll introduce you to the course and to that particular day. This is where you can, if you have not already, you can get your downloadable tracking sheets and the Plan Your Journey guide, and you can have access to our smoothie recipes. So there's a couple smoothie recipes and there's a grocery list. If you're like, I want to buy all this stuff for the smoothies, there it is. And then if you're someone that's like doing low sugar, these regular smoothie recipes have like higher sugar fruit content. These are recipes that have low sugar. So if you want to do those are also options for you. Then, of course, there's the energy assessment. You can come and take that if you have not already. And my frequently asked questions video here. This is a whole video. You don't have to watch it, but it's one that I recorded before that people have asked. It's about an hour long. So if you're like curious about watching that or listening to it in your drive, you can do that. And then we have our day one. So I'm just going to show you what one day looks like in the mind body reset. So you're going to have a little video that takes about 2 or 3 minutes. There's going to be the image of the module of the day, body zone, an affirmation that goes with it, and a balance and imbalance attributes. There's an affirmation again. There's going to be the meditation will be in there and your journal prompts. So you can write down in your journal these questions and answer them for yourself. And also there's your smoothie recipe. So that's what it'll be like every day. The same thing for 7 days. Again, taking as much time as you need. If you need 3 days to process one of the modules, you know, you're learning about something, you're like looking at these imbalances and going, wow, that's me. Oh, I totally have pain in my upper back and I definitely have all these symptoms. And that's okay. And you can use this meditation to kind of calm yourself down, get in that nice relaxed state, and give yourself that time to journal, or even just think about the questions. If you don't like journaling, think about them, answer them for yourself. And if you're really feeling up to it, try the smoothie, see how that helps for you. And you can utilize wearing that color if you'd like, that color of the day, which is green. So that's what it'll be like for the next 7 days. Pretty much straightforward there. And that's about all. So I'm going to go over here and pause for some questions here, and then I'll go over our frequently asked questions. So frequently asked questions. I have so many things that I want to change or I want to pick. What do I do? I encourage you to go back to the intake. Check your life satisfaction. Which area is the most out of balance for you? And which area, picking one, because you can go back and do this again and again. But that is a common question people have. You feel these feelings like excitement, right? And I want you to lean more towards the feelings of excitement versus, oh my gosh, I have so many things, quote unquote, wrong with me. Remember, we go back and with the beginning where I said there's nothing wrong with you. We only can change the things we have awareness of at the first place. Like, you know, when we were a kid, you know, we didn't know how to use the toilet, right? That doesn't mean there's something wrong with us. It just means that we wouldn't know how to do it. And so there's so many things that we want to continue with that progress and that curiosity and that openness and that self-acceptance of where we're at. So starting with one thing based on your energy assessment. And if you're not quite sure, I always say go back to self-love. If you're not sure, you know, that is my default. Go back to self-love. What if you don't have a printer? You don't actually have to print out these tracking sheets if you don't want to. You could totally just track it in a journal. You can look at it on your phone and write down what these daily things are. If you don't want to print them, that's absolutely fine. You can also have, if you have a computer, these should be PDFs you can probably write in. And if you don't like journaling, you can, like I said, just listen to the video and read the questions to yourself. Just by reading them, you start thinking about them. It's something that I have to tell you, there are a lot of people that I've met and worked with. Some of them are health coaches. Some of them are in the holistic field themselves. And they, maybe they're doing well, but they haven't gotten to that next level of their personal empowerment, their success, their relationship success, their health balance, because they have a really hard time doing self-evaluation. They're scared of what they might find. It's very scary. It takes a lot of courage to just sit down with yourself and ask yourself some questions and get real. And so it might seem like a really simple thing, but I can't tell you how often, even professionals that I'm like, hey, this is part of the process, they're not ready yet. And that's okay. So instead, I say, let's just contemplate and talk about that question. Let's just think about it. Maybe writing it down feels too vulnerable, right? Because we've been in such fight mode for so long, protecting ourselves. Or one of the stress responses that it feels more stressful for us to do that. Don't do that to yourself. Be compassionate, be loving to yourself. If you don't like journaling, just contemplate the questions or think it out loud or talk to yourself in your car about it. Something that works, and just start there. But you would be surprised how many even entrepreneurs and holistic professionals I've met that they don't do that either. There's like this block, and they're doing all the nutrition things and they're working out and do all that stuff, but the mental piece and that the patterns that might be keeping them stuck, just they're not going any further. And so that's why I think that this mental piece, and then even the energy piece, which people haven't, at least up until this point, been able to take seriously until maybe they get this information, their personal experience with this stuff, and realize, oh, this is actually a real thing, but to just kind of write it off. And so I encourage you to continue through this with an open mind. And then how do I use affirmations? Common question. Affirmations are very powerful because whenever we use an I am statement, we are dictating and saying to ourselves that this is who I am, what I do, and it's basically telling our unconscious mind, most time we're trying to tell ourselves consciously, what we're telling ourselves what we want to be. It is very common for us to read affirmations and to say, I don't like that. That doesn't feel true for me. It feels like I'm lying to myself by just saying this affirmation. I encourage you, and when we go into our mind body mastery community, if you feel called to go there, that's when we dive deeper into helping you understand how to write your own affirmations that are working for you. So instead of I love and accept myself, that's an affirmation you might be like, that's bullshit. I don't, and that's okay. You can't convince your unconscious mind something that your conscious mind doesn't believe, or your unconscious mind doesn't believe, your conscious mind's trying to believe. This is where this mismatch comes. What we're trying to do is reprogram a belief, and affirmations are the reprogramming vessel. And we can do it through writing. We can do it through speaking them out loud. We can do it through reading them again and again. Whatever it is, we can record ourselves saying them and listen back to them. It's just some sort of pattern that you want to override an unhealthy pattern with whatever that affirmation is. If you don't love yourself, the affirmation would be, I love and accept myself. But if you're like, no, I don't, that's a lie, what we can use to shift that affirmation just a little bit is say, I'm really open to learning how to love and accept myself. Do you see how that versus I love and accept myself? You're like, that's bullshit. That's a lie. I really am open to learning to love and accept myself. That affirmation, saying that over and over and over, writing it over and over and over, recording it and listening to yourself saying it over and over and over, you'll start to shift then your mindset around loving yourself. You'll start to then see things differently. You're starting to create new neural pathways of what love and acceptance of self means, the meaning of it. And then you start opening up to moving in that next direction as you progress, that you can eventually move into a space of like, I really do love and accept I really do love and accept myself most of the time. Most of the time might be like a thing to add at the end, because not everyone always loves and accepts themselves in every moment, right? Where do I get the recipes? So I shared with you in the reset, in the module course material stuff here. You can get the recipes under Let's Go First Steps. So that is an area where you can download the smoothie recipes here. What if I can't join the live webinars? So if you are here joining us live, they'll all be recorded. They'll all be up on the platform, and they'll all be under this this section here, right here. So under that, you'll see here, I have all these recordings: morning check-in recording, evening check-in. They'll be here. These are just not visible if you're looking at it from your end, but they'll be visible for you. And then the final question is, how do I contact you or schedule add-on sessions? So if you're interested in connecting with us and wanting to work in person, I'll give you the email and the phone number if you are saying, I really need some extra help with this. But I'll share with you guys, it's about progress, not perfection. We want to be aware of when we compare. When we move into space of guilt versus shame, or when we're feeling guilty or ashamed of things, it really can continue to perpetuate this holding us back in our lives. So we want to just work one step at a time, one module at a time, one day, or maybe 3 days at a time with each module, taking as much time as you need. This Mind Body Energy Reset's up for life. It's not going anywhere. And of course, we're here to reach out and support you. So connect into the community, connect in with us, and you can do so by emailing coaches@fireflyhollowwellness.com, or you can call 717-814-9136 to reach out and get connected for a session or extra support. So other than that, we are so grateful you guys are here, and we will see you in the platform.